It's the Last Stand Podcast. And here's your host, Brian Custer.
That's right, Last Stand Podcast. I am Brian Custer, where we bring you some of the biggest names in sports, entertainment, and when it comes to college basketball, I tell you, it doesn't get any bigger than our guest. 4 Big East tournament championships, 3 trips to the Final Four, 2 national championships, and both of those titles have come basically in the last 4 years. He is the head coach of the Villanova Wildcats, also the Associated Press Coach of the Decade. You know him as Jay Wright. We call him GQ Jay Wright. He joins us on the Last Stand Podcast. How you doing, Coach?
Hey, B, how are you, man? Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. So what has, first of all, I hope you're well, family as well. What has life been like for Jay Wright during this quarantine?
Thanks, man. And same to you, man. I hope your family's doing well. I think we all, at this time, we all think a little bit more of each other in those terms. I'm used to seeing you during the season. You come into the locker room before the game. We're talking about, hey, what'd you think about this game, that game, this player? Now it's like, how you doing? Is the family all right? Everybody? So everybody's good here. We have 3 children and two are adults. We're 27 and 25. They're both here with us. They both have their girlfriends here with us. My daughter's a junior in college. She's here with us. So 2 dogs and a cat. The place is rocking. So it's such a difficult time, and there's so many people going through so many tough things, and especially being close to New York here, and Philly's tough, and but we've tried to look at the positive for us. With it, cherish this time together with our family. We would never have all 7 of us together like this for this long a time, so we're enjoying that.
How is these times different compared to if we weren't in a pandemic? What would Jay Wright, head coach of Villanova, be doing just about every day compared to what your routine is now?
Well, I didn't realize this, but since I got out of college, my whole life has been based on what time of year it is in the basketball schedule. Are we in preseason practice? Are we in season? Are we in spring recruiting? Are we in summer recruiting? Are we doing home visits? Everything's based on that. As each day is based on that. Like, what is it? Is it a game day? Do you have practice? Are you going recruiting today? So everything you do, every meal you eat, what time you wake up is based on that. So it's totally different where, get up at the same time in the morning, we eat breakfast together, we're having family dinner every night. Like we sit down, all right, what time's dinner tonight? So everybody gets their workout in, everyone's working from home, and we all eat dinner together every night. And it's been incredible. It's all those, especially dinner time, it's always been based on like, what time's practice? Do we have a game tonight? Am I away recruiting? Can I get back? So having this time together as a family and eating these meals together is and not having it based on our basketball schedules is totally different lifestyle.
I always say that, sometimes when you have such tragedy, some good things come out of it. And I think a lot of us are spending a lot more family time and time that we didn't have in the past, and cherishing this because, who knows if we'll ever get these times again. And so that is one of the positives. I want to take you back to March. How crazy of an ending of a season was it, especially for Villanova? Because if I'm not mistaken, you guys were in New York City getting ready to play in the Big East tournament. Talk to us and bring us back to how crazy of an ending that was for you all.
It was really wild. And, as you know, when you're in it, you're so focused. You have a unique perspective. And when you get out of it, especially these times, and you look back on it, it's even wilder. Because when we came into New York, I remember coming in on Tuesday, and we're coming up from Philly. We always plan on traffic and getting, and we were zipping up there, and you get into Manhattan and there's not that much traffic. It was people were starting to social distance, just starting, and they were starting to shut some things down. And it was kind of eerie driving in there on Tuesday. And Wednesday, we go to the awards, Jeremiah Robinson, Earl, it's at Madison Square Garden. He gets the Rookie of the Year. And we always stay right on Central Park South. And we're driving down Broadway. And again, we always leave like 40 minutes to get down there. We're getting down there in 15 minutes. There's hardly any traffic. And kind of saying like, this is weird, But then as soon as you get back to the hotel and you get with the team, you're dialed in, right? And then we're gonna practice at John Jay College. That's where we always practice. And we get a call in the morning. Somebody at John Jay had the virus and they shut the school down, so you can't practice. So now we got to find a gym, and we find Basketball City, which is like on the east side on the river, and on the East River, and we go in there, and that place is shut down. There's nobody there, but they let us go in and practice. And they start talking about, all right, we're not going to have fans. So we watch the Wednesday night games. They have fans. All right, Thursday, no fans. So we go to the New York Athletic Club. We walk down the street right there on Central Park South, go to the New York Athletic Club for a walkthrough on Thursday. We're dialed in. We're ready to go. And we were totally dialed in. At that point, the virus is out of your head because you're thinking, we're playing now. We're going through our game day routine. And we're watching the afternoon games as we're eating lunch. And they say, not playing the second half. It's canceled. So now you got to decide, like, do we stay here in New York? And, I got to admit, my first thought was, this is getting eerie here. I want to get out of here.
Right.
And I didn't know if we could get the bus right away and get back. So we just loaded everybody back. We loaded everybody up. We said, let's just get out of here. That's what it felt like in New York at that time. And again, now you know how bad it is, but you didn't know that back then. You just had an eerie feeling. And we drove back down the Jersey Turnpike. Again, no traffic, and we get back to Philly in like an hour and 45. It's usually like 2:15 to, 2.5.
Absolutely.
And we're like, man, this is weird. And all the media is waiting for us in Philly. And we get there and they have barricades. So the media stays behind the barricade. We get off the bus. As I'm talking to the media, one of the guys hands me his cell phone and says, the NCAA tournament's canceled.
Wow.
So I'm like, whoa. So then we get with the guys, and I call somebody at Villanova, and they say, look, we're going to make an announcement Sunday or Monday. We're closing the school down. So, just so you know that if these guys – so I couldn't tell the guys they're closing that, but I said, look, get all your stuff, go home. But take everything with you. But I didn't want to tell them we're closing the school down because I didn't want them to be the ones to announce it. So we got everybody home, and luckily they got to bring all their stuff with them. But it was bizarre, man. It was a bizarre couple of days.
So you talked about how generally your life is centered around, games during this time, recruiting. How has this pandemic then affected the way you go about recruit? How do you recruit guys when you can't go to their homes and talk to them?
You know what, Brian? It's really interesting, man. I kind of feel like, in one way, we're doing all these Zoom sessions with our recruits. And I don't know, man. It's almost like you're getting, my dog will jump into the shot once in a while. And it's like everybody's more relaxed. You're more human. It's not like they're coming to your school. You're the coach. You're walking around. Everyone's like, hi, coach, hi, coach. You're sitting in your house. They're in their house. In that sense, you're connecting pretty well with these guys, But
yeah,
for us, we do a lot of evaluating. Our recruiting is more evaluating the player. Like we will be watching them in the spring and really evaluating to explain to them how they would fit in, and then getting them on campus and evaluating them as young men and as students, see how they relate to our guys. And that's been a challenge for us, that we can't do it that way. Now we're kind of ahead because we didn't have any seniors in last year's class, so we knew we had to recruit the younger guys earlier. So we kind of know who our guys are, and we have evaluated them, so we're in a pretty good spot that way. But the Zoom meetings with recruits and their families has really been an interesting part. I think it's going to be something that stays with recruiting.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, do you think this will stick going forward?
I do. I really do. And I know in the NCAA, they're always looking at cost cutting. You know, those periods where we're doing home visits and stuff, you could save a lot of money with these Zoom meetings are very effective.
Do you think here, because everyone has got to plan now, you see all of these sports leagues talking about delayed, some may saying they may not even play until next year. Do you think this will affect the college basketball season upcoming?
It could, Brian. I think we have to. I think we have to prepare as if we're going back in the fall. I think the summer. I know some people talk about maybe getting back on campus for second summer session. I don't see it. I don't see it in metropolitan areas. Like maybe, I don't know, maybe in the Midwest or where it hasn't hit that well yet. But you know, here in the Northeast, you can't bring people back on campus this summer. So you know, we've talked to our team about that in terms of, you know, we're going to have to really be focused and personally disciplined to get ourselves as prepared as we can to come back in the fall. Now, we're preparing for that, but I think we all have to be ready that there's a possibility that might not happen too. And one of the things I've thought about, you know, as a coach and talked to our staff about is, you know, even if we have to go back to the old school, start on October 15th and have a totally different preseason than we're used to having, then, you know, we have to be prepared for that. Worst case scenario right now, and as we know, everything's fluid, it could get worse. I think worst case scenario right now, impossible, is that you start January 1st with conference play and you don't play preseason. That's worse. That's worse. Because if they move the football season, if they have to move the football season back, and you know there's only so many windows on TV where they can fit things in, and for whatever reason, if the football season's going longer, they might start the basketball season later. I think we have to at least think that's a possibility.
What do you think about playing then in small crowds to no crowds?
You know, I think for the players and the coaches, I don't think that's a big deal. Like of course, we love playing in the big crowds and live for it, but some years ago, I don't know how many now, you know, we started these scrimmages where you can, you know, scrimmage another team and no one can be in the stands. And I always would come out of those scrimmages and I would say, like, man, if anybody could have seen this, like, you know, like last year we're down at North Carolina and it's a bloodbath, you know, or the year before we're at Virginia and Villanova is playing Virginia, and it is, you know, it turns out that year they won the national championship that year. And, you know, we won the Big East championship. The scrimmage was, oh my God, killing each other. And you know, I think we played like 6 quarters, you know, so it was longer than a regular game. A fan, and I remember coming out, like, a fan would die to see this. So the players and coaches are gonna, it's not going to affect us at all. We're going to, you put us on the floor and it's proven. And everybody in the NCAA knows this because we go through these scrimmages. It is proven. You put us in a gym against each other, we're going to go at it. And maybe if they can do that for TV, I think people will still appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you got to be happy. You talked about Jeremiah Robinson Earl. He's coming back. You know, he kind of tested the NBA waters. But he's coming back. I know Siddiq Bey is still, you know, seeing what his options are. I mean, it seems like Villanova basketball is going to be locked and loaded once again this upcoming season.
We have an experienced team. We could have a good team. And you know, as you say, Jeremiah Robinson Earl coming back, is really important for us. Last year was a unique year for us, having no seniors, and we started the season at Ohio State, and we looked like a young team with no seniors. We looked bad. But by the end of the year, Big East champions and top number 10 in the country, and we were really playing good basketball at the end. We were fired up. So Jeremiah coming back is big. And it's interesting the way you said he kind of tested the waters, because it was he was going to go through the process, but it's funny that he's such a unique kid. He said, "Coach, I'm probably going to come back, but if I get a chance to go play against these guys, I just want to play. I don't. If someone tells me, if I play and someone tells me I'm going to be a first round pick and a lottery pick, all right, I got to go. But I love college and I want to go compete against these guys." So once he saw that wasn't going to happen, they're not going to have the combine, he's like, "Hey, I'm good. I was just going to work out." He just loves to compete. And then Siddiq, I think he's leaning towards going, and rightfully so, but it's so hard to get him any information now. So, he really just trying to see what's happening. I think once the NBA sets up their schedule, then they can start determining when they're going to make decisions on the draft. Right now, I don't know if the draft isn't going to be on the 25th, it looks like, correct?
Right. Exactly.
It's not going to happen on that date. So they don't have to make any decisions yet. So it's hard for him to really get anything definitive. But I think he's capable. I think he should be a first-round pick. And I know he's capable of being successful. So he'll wait this out and try to get as much info as he can before he makes his decision.
As successful as you have been, as Villanova has been in this program, and you heard Robinson Earl, just wanted to see what it's like. Why have you never had any one and dones? And all the great players you've had, why have you never had any one and dones? Guys tend to stay there at Villanova, whether it's 2 years, 3 years, 4 years.
We try, man. We recruit them. We try. I think it's more the kind of guys that choose us. As we were talking about earlier, our recruiting is more us explaining, us telling the recruit, like, look, you could go to Duke, Kentucky, you can't, you're good enough. So you just got to pick, where do you want to go through this process of developing yourself as a young man, as a student, as a person, as a player. How do you want to do it? And then we show them, this is how we do it. So the guys, they pick us, and a lot of them don't pick us, but they pick us, and what they're picking is like, hey, I want to be a good student. I want to grow emotionally in terms of my emotional intelligence, and I want to develop as a player. If I do that, and Siddiq Bey is a great example. Siddiq Bey, his mom is a high school principal in DC. She's all about him getting his degree. If I do that and I do such a great job that at the end of my second year, I'm a first round pick, then I have a tough decision to make. And the reason it's a tough decision is because I like college. I want to stay, but business-wise, I might have to go. We want everybody to be in that situation. And, Dante DiVincenzo was that way. He never started for us, and he loved college. And he was going to be like, a mid-first round pick, so he had to go. Mikal Bridges was that way. Mikal Bridges, after his junior year, he loved it at school, And, I used to bust his chops. He had a girlfriend that was on the lacrosse team. She was younger, and I was like, I know you really don't want to leave. You just don't want to leave her. He knew he was going to be a lottery pick, and he really had another year, and he would have loved it. But, just business-wise, it was the right thing to do. So we get those kind of guys. They choose us. We're very, very fortunate to be able to coach those kind of guys.
Well, we've seen here this spring some of the top players that were supposed to come to college have decommitted, and all of a sudden now are going to the G League because they're getting offered $500,000, $250,000 to go play in the G League. Do you think that's going to be a game changer for college basketball?
I do. Well, I don't know if you could call it. It's going to change the recruiting process, and I think for the good. I think it's a really good thing. for so many years, Brian, everybody criticizes the NCAA, and we the NCAA, it's a bunch of academicians running a huge sports business. And the NBA is the best sports marketing machine in the world. And maybe one of the best marketing machines of any business. And the NCAA is the worst in marketing what we do and what we're all about. Because the reason so many problems are happening in the NCAA is that the NBA isn't taking these guys out of high school. So you have guys that don't want to go to college and they have to, when really they would rather go to the G League or they would rather go to the NBA, and it hasn't been an option for them or a realistic option. So I think this is great because I think there's a lot of guys that would like to take that path, like baseball players who take the path through the minor leagues. The next thing that's really important is I think the Players Association and the NBA have to pass the rule that these guys can come out of high school and be eligible for the draft so that the top players can go. And the next thing the NBA has to pass, it's the NBA, it's not college, is that if we don't take them out of high school, let's say we're going to take them out of high school, we're going to offer them the G League and this good money in the G League. If they stay in college, we're not going to take them until after their second or third year. That's got to be, it's an NBA rule, not an NCAA rule. So we need the NBA to help us with this. And I think this is a good start. This G League option is a really good start.
The all-natural B1 patch from USA Natural may be just what you're looking for.
And listen, I use it as well. All you got to do is stick it on, peel it, stick, and just in a few minutes you feel the B1 vitamin, the thiamine. It boosts your immunity, immune system, gives you focus, gives you energy. If you're into working out like myself, it's going to help you recover a lot better.
Visit buyb1.com and enter the code BC3 for a discount on every order. Wear what the pros wear, the all-natural B1 patch.
Let me follow up on that. What about then, are we at the point from a college basketball standpoint, paying players, since they're starting to make some money off their likeness, what about paying players?
A lot of it is semantics now, right? So paying players, I don't think will ever happen. I don't think the schools will ever pay the players. I think what we need to do here is figure out a way that they can use their name, image, and likeness if it's being offered for them to make money off of that outside of playing college basketball, that they can do that. Run clinics in the summer, sign autographs, be a spokesman for, a business. If we can do that, I think that's a good thing. I still think it's got to be coupled with the NBA allowing, these guys to come out of high school and then protecting them and not taking them until 2 or 3 years in college. But I think it's something we should have done 10, 15 years ago gradually. We got to, again, this is what I said, the NCAA is run by academicians, not business people. It should have been done 10, 15 years ago. Now we got ourselves in a bad spot where it's going to get thrown at us. We're going to have to deal with some problems probably early, but I think we'll figure it out. And I think it's a good thing. But I think in the big picture, we got to get to the point where guys that are playing in college want to be students. They want to be in college. They want to be educated, and then they want to go be pros. Guys that don't want to be college can make a good living, can go to the G League, or go right to the NBA, and they have that option. Right now, those worlds are muddled, and I don't think it's helping the NBA because they got too many young players playing in there that aren't ready, and it's hurting college basketball. Some of the scandals we're seeing, and a lot of the public criticism that the NCAA gets.
So I want to talk about you because, as I said at the top, Associated Press named you the Coach of the Decade. ESPN recently did a list of the best college basketball hires over the last 25 years. Jay Wright was number 2. In your opinion, what makes Jay Wright a great basketball coach? Is it the X's and O's? Is it his feel of the game? In your opinion, what makes Jay Wright a great basketball coach?
Interesting question. I don't think, honestly, I don't think I'm a great basketball coach. And you know this, Brian, from all the guys you see. Like, I'll go to a high school game and I'll see guys and I'll be like, hey, that guy's a great coach. Like, he's a better coach than me. Doing the World Cup this past summer, being with Steve Kerr and Popovich and you know, seeing the coaches from the other teams, like the Australian coach from France, guys, you know, you don't ever heard of them. You're watching film and you're competing. You're saying, like, that guy's a great coach. I think what I am very blessed to have experienced is I'm a good coach at a place that's perfect for me, where my personal mission as a coach fits the university's mission. Like, I really look at myself as an educator. You know, I really love the education part of this. It's what I love about being in college. You know, everybody doesn't see that part of it, but I love the guys that, like last night or 2 nights ago, our guys from 16, our guys from 18 team, somehow, I have nothing to do with this, put together a virtual game with esports. They played against each other. They raised money for Phil Abundance, which is a food bank here in Philadelphia. They put it all together. I had nothing to do with it. Raised close to $30,000. And it was set up by a couple of our walk-ons who are really brilliant guys. Like, I like that as much as I like our guys going to the NBA. You know, and so I think what we see of my career is just the perfect match of my coaching philosophy and mission and the school's mission.
I think that's probably one of the reasons why so many people like you. Humility, I think, is one of your huge assets. So in that line, then, in your opinion, who is the best coach in college basketball right now? When you watch, you say, man, that guy can do it. Who is, in your opinion?
You know, as you know, there's a lot. Tony Bennett is a great coach. You know, we were talking about those scrimmages. I would always say to him every year, man, I love scrimmaging you guys, because we come out of those games. I know, all right, all of our weaknesses were exposed. I know what we got to work on. He's outstanding. And Coach K, you know, there's some interesting things, like what he does with young guys and, you know, getting those freshmen. And you got to put John Calipari in that category. I really admire how they're able to build a team so quickly. And I watched Coach K, you know, when he coached the USA team. I was a small part of that staff. Watched him. There's so much more to those guys than you see, you know, just on TV. They're really bright, and really, really good X and O guys too.
I always say the one thing about being a great leader, being a great coach, is having success. But the really, really good ones are able to sustain that success. And that's exactly what you've done at Villanova. I think this will be really good for people, no matter what field they're in, to hear this. What advice can you give them on how do you sustain success?
We're still in the middle of it, so I could blow this, you know, because you know, the longer it gets going, the harder, you know, the more you want to keep it going because you value it so much. The more you don't want it to end. So you fear, you know, you fear that ending, or you fear eventual failure. And I think that's really the key to it. Is it's going to end. It's a run in sports. There's going to be some failure. You can't fear failure. you have to, and usually when you have a lot of success, what does failure affect the most? Your ego, right? As you get successful, your ego becomes your greatest enemy. And you have to stay true to keeping the culture you built alive. If keeping that culture strong is, if you do that and you fail, you have to be willing to accept that. But if you lose the culture and you fail, that's on you. You know, the only thing you can do is try to maintain the culture and be true to your core values. You have to know it's going to end. It's going to end at some time. And you can't be afraid of that. You can't make decisions just to keep it going, because then you're definitely going to fail.
I was reading this, man, and it blew me away, Jay, because I didn't even know this, but apparently like a year ago when UCLA was looking for a coach, they offered to double Jay Wright's salary. And you would have been the second highest paid coach, almost $8 million behind Coach K. And you said no and stayed at Villanova. Jay, why? Why? What is it about Nova that's like, okay, I got to stay here, but for $8 million, Jay, I would have been in LA, kicked up, feet up, coaching them Bruins. Why'd you stay? What is it about Nova that you love?
Well, first of all, I get paid really well at Villanova, so I don't want to make it like I'm that, that crazy or, that altruistic. Villanova is very generous to me and my family. But it's like I said earlier, I don't think I'm that great of a coach that, if you go put me anywhere, I'll just make it happen. I think we have a good mix here where, I want to graduate players. I don't know about other schools if I'm able to do that. I know Villanova is going to do everything they can with me to help us graduate these guys. That's what Villanova wants to do. I want our guys to be a part of this campus community. I want them to grow as men. Villanova does everything to help me do that. I know that this allows me to really do what I want to do with my life. Now, we make a lot of money, but that's not what I got in it for. I got in it to educate young men and try to help teach them and to coach basketball, and to make and build teams. And I know we can do that here. So I don't want to give that up. And I think you've asked me before about the NBA, and it's the same thing. It's like if I ever found somewhere I knew we could affect guys' lives, we could build a culture where we can compete night in and night out, and people are going to respect that, then maybe you'd look at it. But we have that at Villanova. Like I love that, like our fans truly, like they want to win. We get some crazy ones, but as long as our guys are growing and they're representing the university well and they're part of the campus community and they're graduating, our fans are fine. You got some crazies that get mad if we're not in the top 10 or something, but 95% of them, they love what Villanova stands for, and I love that.
Yeah. Listen, no matter whether it was I even still hear from people from Hofstra who just cry because they said Jay Wright left us. We were there, and Jay Wright left, and now he took it on and did great things at Villanova. So
I would have said that was the same place, though. We had the same thing going there. I would have been good there. If no one ever came and got me, I would have been good there. But Villanova's home. My wife's a Villanova grad, and I'm a Philly guy. It was home.
All right. So you talked about the NBA. John Beilein, who was a great coach at Michigan, and everyone, when he got hired, was like, oh, this is a great hire for these young Cavs and things of that nature. He makes the transition, and he didn't even last half the season there in Cleveland. So why does it seem like whenever coaches from the college ranks make that transition to the league, it doesn't go well?
Yeah. You know what, Brian? I don't have I have my ideas, but I agree with you. Like I thought John Beilein was going to be he is such a great X and O guy, and he's so good with people. I thought he was good. I thought that was a great hire, and they were a young team. I don't know what happened with the front office, but you got it. The one thing everybody tells me about the NBA, and we know all the same guys, and having coached with Pop and all those guys last summer, there has to be a connection with the general manager, the president, general manager, owner, and the coach, and you got to be on the same page of what is our plan, right? And you got to be on the same page. Now, in big-time college athletics, it's actually the same way, and I never really thought of it until I talked to the NBA guys about it, but if you're going to be successful, again, it's why you say you don't leave Villanova. Your president, your athletic director, and your head coach better be on the same page. Because if you're not, the big time schools are, and they're gonna beat you. And we do have that at Villanova. Our president's great. Our AD is awesome. And I think that's what happens. Like college guys get in there, and maybe Brad Stevens is the guy I think that's done the best job of that, right? And if you look at it, I don't know the owner of the Celtics, but I know Danny Ainge, and I remember when he made that hire. I know those two they were together on what the plan was. And you've seen they've hit some rocky roads, and those two stick together on the plan. I think it's more of that. And I think it's not just that college guys aren't successful. I think a lot of guys aren't successful in the NBA if you don't get that connection, owner, president, general manager, and coach.
And where does the player, because, at Nova, hey, look, you're the CEO. And so what you say goes. Then all of a sudden you get to the NBA and you get these rosters, and some of these guys got max contracts, $30 million. They're looking at you like, hey, man, they're going to get rid of you before they're going to get rid of me. So is it that the coaches don't take that relationship with the players, take that under consideration? What's the disconnect there?
Well, I think, when you look at the successful organizations, if you look at the Spurs, they know, Pop's, they're not getting rid of that, they're not getting rid of that guy. And it's Pop with the owner. And you look at when Phil Jackson is, wherever Phil Jackson has been. And, that it was that relationship. And those guys know when they take the jobs, like a Phil Jackson or Steve Kerr, like, who the main player is. And there's an understanding there that we're in this together, right? Once a lot of college guys have they get the young teams, right? And then when the young stars start to develop, they are more important than that coach at that time. And if you're not on the same page, it's going to blow up. Like, they never give the college coach the Lakers job with LeBron James, so there's so many dynamics in pro sports. It's interesting. A lot of the college guys going to the NFL haven't been as successful either. It's a real interesting phenomenon. I think a lot of times it's the relationship they get into with the owner, the owner and the GM.
And in light of that, because as you've talked about, you've coached with Pop, you've coached with Steve Kerr, you've been the assistant on these Olympic teams, so you've been with the LeBrons, you've been with everybody. Do you think that when your time comes, or you make that decision, that your transition will be easier because you've already developed such a relationship with even the top players in the league, that even the younger players in the league will look at you and say, oh, well, shoot, if he's boys with LeBron, yeah, I got to respect this guy and play for this guy.
Well, that's one of the interesting things, but coaching these guys in the summer, we were supposed to be the Olympic team we were supposed to have this summer. It's, I learned a lot of lessons, last summer coaching these guys, just being in drills on the floor, me throwing a little college toughness at a guy and him coming back at me, and Pop watching the drill laughing at me. It was good, but the guys, the NBA guys are the players are so smart, and in every aspect, as X and O wise, basketball wise, business wise, branding, they're so smart. I was amazed this summer, and you have to be on top of every little thing you do, from the way you relate to them off the court to the way you talk to them on the court. You better have your X's and O's down. Like I was doing a scout for the Turkey team, and I don't know all the NBA guys, and I mispronounce a guy's name, and Marcus Smart's like, yeah, I was doing the Greece scout, and I said Giannis, and one of the guys said, "Yo, coach, it's Giannis." Like they don't miss anything, man. So I'm still learning to deal with those guys. I'll tell you, another coach on our staff, Lloyd Pierce, is kind of like the next generation with those guys. Really bright guy, really smart. I learned a lot from how he coaches those guys kind of different. Steve was like a former player with all the NBA championships, Pop. And then got Lloyd, the young, up and coming guy, and really, really bright, technologically savvy. I'm still learning a lot about coaching those guys, and I'm missing that this summer.
Wow. So then it leads then, as we wrap it up on your career, and I know you've probably talked with your wife. When do you know it's time? When do you know? And I'm sure, listen, we all like challenges. And I would think for you, the next challenge is the NBA. I know there was rumors about the Knicks were wanting you early in the year, things of that nature. Have you talked to your wife about when that next step is? Have you thought about when is the time? Is it a feeling you get that, and when do you see yourself coaching in the NBA?
I'd like to give the impression to everyone that I got my act totally together and I have a plan for that. But you would think when you're younger in your career, when you're younger and you're an assistant, it's easy to say like, all right, I want to be a head coach. You got a plan. And then you get to be a head coach and you're in it for a while and you're enjoying it, and opportunities come your way, and it's not so easy, and it's not so clear cut, and as we were talking about earlier, the one thing I know is I really enjoy coaching here. I really enjoy what I have here. I watch everything that happens. I watch John Beilein, we were just talking about, like when I'm watching Pop and Steve Kerr and Lloyd Pierce, each doing it in a different way. I'm watching them coach these guys. I'm like, can I do that? Great. I would yell at a guy on a bench one time and come back at me, and Steve Kerr would just say, "Hey, welcome to the NBA." and it's we're in college, they're not saying anything back to you. So I really don't have an answer. Jim Valvano had a great line. He said he should have never left Iona. He should have stayed at Iona and not gone to NC State. He told me this one time. He said, if you get a great place, you love where you're coaching, don't mess with happy. And so I'm very happy here. I don't want to mess with it.
That's great. All right. So listen, we get a number of questions. We let people who listen to the podcast ask our guest questions. We got so many for you. So I had only to pick the best ones here that I thought were really interesting. I'll start with Calvin from Facebook. He says, I think you're a great coach and recruiter. I even bought my boys your book. What is your go-to tool, method, or speech when you're trying to seal the deal on a 5 or 4-star high school recruit?
That's a great question.
It is.
My assistants would tell you I'm a terrible recruiter, because they go find these guys and they get great relationships with them. Then they bring them into me and I sit down and I start grilling them with questions. And they're like, come on, coach. But my go-to is really, it's me asking them, do you really want this? Like, I want you to be the best man, the best student, and the best player you can be. And I want you to be committed to that every day. You're not going to be perfect, but that's what we're going to be working on. That's what I'm going to hold you to every day. And I'm not expecting you to be perfect, but I want you to be committed to that. Do you really want that? And I think if I can get that through to somebody, that's really what it is at Villanova every day. They decide on their own, whether they really want to be there or not. But if they pick that, you got a great dude.
Yeah.
And we have been blessed. Like I say it all the time, we're blessed with having the best guys to coach, but it's because they really choose us.
Rob from Facebook asks, when looking for a player, where do you begin your search? What part of the country do you concentrate on?
Always Philly. It's we really do. We start in Philly and then gradually move out. There's so many players, just the density of population in the Northeast. There's so many players, and I've said a number of times the Northeast to me in basketball is like the Southeast in football. In the Northeast, it's basketball season all year round. In the Southeast, it's football season all year round. And so we do stick in the Northeast. It doesn't mean there aren't a lot of great players in other parts of the country. Just that there's just so many right here. It doesn't pay to go out. That far out. We got like Jalen Brunson from Chicago. We had James Bell from Florida, but they all have, like, Jalen Brunson grew up in the Philly area. James Bell has all his relatives in New Jersey. It all comes back to being connected to Philly.
Hey, I'm curious, is it Philly, New York? Best hoopers come out of which area?
I'll tell you what, man. You know where it is right now? I hate to say this. DC. DC right now. DC high school basketball right now. Now, Philly's great and New York's great, but DC is on fire right now. They have so many good teams, so many good AU programs, and good students too. It's
wow.
It's
all right, we'll get you out of here with a segment. Our last segment of this podcast. We call it The Last Stand, Jay. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, Jay Wright. I want the first thing that comes to your mind, not the second, not the third, the first thing. All right, you ready?
All right, man.
Okay. If you weren't a hoop coach, what would be your profession right now?
Stockbroker.
Oh, I see. You with the suits and all? Yeah, I could see that. You won the NCAA title 2016. You won it in 2018. Which team was better?
I can't do that. That's my first question. That's my first answer. You said first thought. I can't do that.
Okay. How about this one? What is your NBA dream job? If the NBA came to you and said, Jay Wright, you named the team, you got it, we're going to give you the job, you get everything you want. What's your NBA dream job?
Sixers or Knicks.
Okay. Best player you've ever coached?
I can't do that. I can't, but I'll give you one that J.R. Ryder, when I was assistant at UNLV,
okay,
was so dominant at that time. It was incredible. Like, still maybe the most talented guy I ever coached was J.R. Ryder. Talented.
If people forget about Easy Rider could go in his day. You're right about that. All right. What school do you love beating the most?
I don't have that school. Because I never think about us beating somebody. I always think about us playing our best. So I really don't. So I don't think of it that way. Like, I love road wins in the Big East. That's my favorite type of win.
Okay. And then last but not least, give me your Mount Rushmore of Big East coaches.
Awesome. Rolly Massimino. How many guys on Mount Rushmore?
Got 4 of them.
4? I was going to say 5. All right, that's how bad I am. Rolly Massimino, John Thompson, Louis Carnesecca, Jim Boeheim.
Nice. Jay Wright, I could spend the entire day talking to you. That's how much I enjoy it. I know before the games, you're like, man, get out of here, because we sit in that locker room.
Junkie, man. You're a hoop junkie. I love talking to you too.
Man, I really appreciate that. That's what we do here on the Last Stand podcast. We bring you the biggest names in sports. Jay Wright, continued success to you, my friend. And folks, make sure you listen to the Last Stand podcast. We'll see you next week.